Ken and Sherry Whethams from EliteFTS.com, and today we're going to try and teach you a little bit of kettlebell technique as far as the snatch goes. Snatch is probably the most technical movement to learn properly and efficiently, and so what we're going to do is we're going to try and go over a few of the pointers that are really important to try and get dial in some good technique. We'll cover a little bit of the mechanics and the trajectory, and hopefully it will help you improve your kettlebell technique. So my lovely assistant Sherry here, we're going to get her to just, first of all, we'll just take the snatch and we'll just do a few snatches just to show what the actual technique is. So into a lockout position, straight up. Okay. Good. All right. So you can see, if you watched our last kettlebell video on the hip movement, as far as the kettlebell clean goes with the shoulder and the hip relationship going back and forth, it's going to be very similar to the way that the snatch goes. So what we need to do when we're snatching the kettlebell up is you're basically going to try and stay connected with the inside of your quad, and when you propel your hips forward and you're going to pull your shoulder back, you're going to try and get as much extension as you can in your shoulder to really fire that kettlebell up. And what you're trying to do with your arm basically is to guide that kettlebell up as close as you can to your center of gravity, and you're also going to keep it straight up. And you don't want to have the kettlebell out at all because it's going to put a lot of torque on your shoulder, so you want to keep it nice and close so you're almost touching your bicep on your ear. So once we get into the lockout position straight up, is that one of the first movements that we want to do is just to kind of twist that kettlebell a little bit. We're going to bring it around forward because it will be hanging in behind. So you want to bring it around forward, and you're going to lead with your elbow down, nice and straight through. And then there's going to be the transition that goes down and thumb back. And you can see how Sherry bent her knees and got her hips back, her shoulders forward to accept that weight. And then she's basically going to bend her knees and load, and she's going to extend that kettlebell straight up, okay? And so this is a full body movement. So what we're trying to do is we don't want the kettlebell to come out far away from your body. We're always going to try and keep it as close to your body and as close to the front as you can. And the same thing when we drop it down. This kettlebell for Sherry up at the top, I mean, this kettlebell is what, 30 pounds, Sherry? So by the time it gets down to the bottom here, if you just drop it down there, it's going to weigh a lot more at the bottom. And this is where you're susceptible to your grip strength, because that's it's going to be the portion of the movement that is in the most jeopardy. So when she goes down, she's going to try and twist that kettlebell down. We're just going to do it in slow-mo. You're going to bring her elbow down. She's going to do that transition, which comes down, bring it through, gonna load up the hips, and then fire it straight back up again. So we'll just do a couple. Again, Sherry, just a little bit in fast motion there a little bit. She's trying to make that kettlebell as light as she can from the top of the movement down to the bottom. So up at the top, so it's almost like a slow motion movement as much as you can to try and descend it as slowly and control it and fire it back up. And then you can see the heavier that the kettlebell gets, basically you're gonna try and really wanna get and fire with as much emphasis out of your hips as you can, and you're going to really try and pull your shoulders back to really get that extension and stay connected as long as you can. If you get disconnected from the snatch, I don't know if you can try and do one that's not proper. If you can kind of just not stay, you're going to see that she's going to be pulling that kettlebell up with her shoulder versus using your strong muscles, which is your bottom end. So it makes it a lot tougher, and you're really going to wear out a lot faster. Okay, so we'll do a couple more like that. And one of the things that Sherry doesn't do that I do, because I'm a lot taller, so I'm over 6 feet. When I have the kettlebell overhead, it's almost 8 feet off the ground. One of the movements that you can do is what she just did right there, is to lean back. So you can almost drop that kettlebell back, drop it down about 3 or 4 inches, even before you start the descent, just by leaning back. You see? And then you've got a nice path to drop it down right and forward again. So you can just drop it back, yeah. Perfect. And just fire it back up. Now, one of the things that it's hard to see here, I'll just see the kettlebell for a second, Sherry. One of the things that's hard to see because it's going between Sherry's legs is that you've always seen the overhand hook grip when you're doing the deadlift, and she is actually, when you pinch that kettlebell underneath, you're actually pinching it into a lock position. So you're locking your finger and your thumb in an okay position underneath there. So when that kettlebell goes underneath your legs, you're actually pinching that to try and improve your grip on the bottom, just like you would in a deadlift with an overhand thumb lock. So if you're snatching a kettlebell properly, you're really grabbing it for the most part between your forefinger and your thumb, and you're going to start to get a really good callus on the inside of your front hand. Shouldn't be calloused or torn up in the middle of your hand if you're doing it properly, because you're going to be grabbing it basically on the edge up in the horseshoe of that kettlebell like so, and then you're going to be propelling it up with your hips and going from there. Okay, like Sherry just said, one of the things that you can do if you get into lifting a heavier kettlebell is it's obviously harder with a heavier weight to get it up as high or propel it as high. So one of the things you can do before she gets into the lockout, she can bend her knees to accept that weight up at the top. So if you start to train with a heavier kettlebell with a snatch, is that you can always propel that kettlebell up, and if it's a lot heavier than you're used to, when you first start to get into it, you can bend your knees to accept it into a lockout position at the top. So that's another thing that, and if you start to get fatigued into a longer set, that's also one of the things that you can go to try and help you get through that set as well. So hopefully that'll help you a little bit in some of the pointers that we use for teaching people how to use the snatch properly. But definitely you want to get away from casting the kettlebell out and bringing it up far away from your body. You want to really propel it up, you know, as close to your body as you can, and bring it down as close to your body as you can. So hopefully that'll help you out.